Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Stuff and Things Podcast. I am Sam and that epic music can mean only one thing. We are back talking about the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. It is Season 2. Joining me to jump into episodes 1, 2 and 3 of the season that were all released in one batch on Amazon Prime, it's Stefan.
How are we all doing, everyone?
I don't feel like I can answer for everyone.
No?
No.
We're all fine. We're all fine.
No, but some people won't be fine, though, will they? They'll be sad and they'll be upset, but they'll be coming to this podcast thinking, "Oh, this will make my day better."
Hopefully,
Maybe.
yeah, we can try.
Maybe
we can try.
So like I said, it's the Lord of the Rings. It is Season 2 of the Rings of Power. We have a tradition on this where we say what was the title of the episode, and we have 3 episodes, so we're going to get this done first. Stefan, the title of Season 2, Episode 1 was...
Elven Kings Under the Sky.
Title of Episode 2...
Where the Stars Are Strange.
And Episode 3...
The Eagle and the Scepter.
Yeah. Funnily,
title of the first episode I originally wrote down as 11 Kings Under the Sky, because I only looked quickly.
Now... when I wrote it down, I you know how I like it when you fuck up. So when I wrote it down, I was kind of like, "Come on, he's gonna write 11," because it reads like 11 Kings Under the Sky would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
So
no, luckily,
I didn't. This is gonna be my moment again. And I was like, "You said Elven. No, never mind. Well done." I thought. So. This is Season 2, The Rings of Power. Luckily, Amazon provided a recap, which was...
Oh, weren't you thankful for that?
Desperately needed. Mate, when we podcast, you typically have the Internet Movie Database, better known as IMDb, open.
I do.
Can you tell me, because this has been playing on my mind, because everyone will know this, or I hope everyone knows this, or I say knows this, everyone else understands what I mean by this, but my perspective on time since COVID is really off. And, I genuinely, at times, I was talking to someone the other day who messaged me out of the blue, and I was like, "Oh, it's so good, I've not spoke to you for a while," and he's like, "Yeah, it's been like 6 years." I was like, "Nah, it's not been that long." And then we worked it out, and it had been 7.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's like my perspective on time is now weird. Like, I've lost, this kind of weird perspective on it. So, can you tell me, when did Season 1 come out of this show? When were we talking about it last?
So, they dropped the first 2 episodes of Season 1 on Friday, the 2nd of September, 2022.
Oh, okay. 2022, all right. So, in my head, it was...
2 years.
Yeah, so in my head, it was... earlier than that. But okay, all right, 2020. So 2 years. So yeah, it has been 2 years, and it has been because of that, the recap was greatly needed.
Yes.
I mean, it's good to say as well. I mean, if you're a big fan of the show, Season 3 has already been commissioned, so it is still rolling on. And when the show was originally announced, it was said that their target was 5 seasons, so whether they're still aiming to do that or not, we don't know. But yeah, so Season 3 has been confirmed, has been announced. The gap and the filler, didn't you watch that? Was there any parts of that that were like, "Oh yeah"? Because I find there was a fair few characters I'd forgotten.
Yeah, say most of it for me. It's been a long time. Yeah. We've watched a lot of shows.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, to the extent of the music started, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't the Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Do you ever find, and this is a bit niche, so apologies everyone listening, podcasters. Do you ever find that sometimes you mix stuff up in your memory?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really? Okay, it's not just.
Oh yeah,
me,
quite often. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, I mean, Lord of the Rings is kind of unique. I guess Game of Thrones is similar in a way. I don't overly mix them up too much, but there are sometimes the shows we do, especially when we're doing a lot of the Marvel stuff, because it's all set in the same, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and a lot
Very
of
easy to start mixing that stuff up.
yeah, like, oh, did this happen on that show, or did it happen in that movie? I'm sure that happened, and like sometimes it can be like a really throwaway after credit scene which gave you some detail. And I'm remembering it, and I'm like, oh, that was that character, so that must have been in that show. No, it wasn't. It was, like, tagged on the end of this film. So, yeah, I often get that jumbled.
After credit scenes, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I know what you mean. I can have a bit in this is kind of like, we saw characters again in, like, different episodes, and, like, things happen, I'm kind of like, I don't remember that. Oh, no, I do remember that. No, wait, do I? And then something else happens, and you go, no, yep, I do remember that. That's great.
Yeah.
Or, as I find other episodes, stuff happens, and I'm like, no, I don't remember any of that. No. I'm sure that did happen. You're talking about it. I'm sure it happened, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. So, overall, we've had 3 episodes drop of this season.
Yep.
What are your thoughts overall? Without diving into any details from any of the episodes, what, you've watched the first 3. How do you feel? Do you feel like I'm excited for the season? Do you feel like, what are your thoughts? Where are you at?
So I messaged you about this, didn't I? We spoke about this on WhatsApp. So you are very much the very big Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
I am very much more a casual viewer sort of thing. Like, I've seen the 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Yep.
I've never seen The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'll admit, never seen The Hobbit. I think I was just really busy with work and stuff when it came out, and then because it's such a long film, and I never got to it.
Yeah.
So for me in this, I am just purely enjoying watching this show.
Yeah.
Like, there's no deeper kind of looking into the lore and the stuff of the books and all stuff like that. I am watching it purely on like a casual enjoyment mode.
Yep.
Which, like we spoke about before, like when the Fallout show that we did came out.
Yep.
I loved the Fallout games. You and Kaylee were more kind of like the casual watching it for enjoyment.
Yeah.
So it's now been flipped over.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to it in the sense of it's a show I'm watching and enjoying.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it in a sense of, oh my God, I know about this, so this is going to be great when they explain it, sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But overall, you watched those 3 episodes and you felt engaged and looking forward to more.
Yeah. I am happy to watch the rest of them.
Okay.
There are shows we have done where we've watched those first few episodes and we've gone, oh, we're going to have to watch these for a podcast.
Yeah.
This, I'm like, yep, I am happy to keep going with this. This is, it's telling a good story. I'm enjoying certain storylines more than others.
Yeah.
Which I think is when you've got this many storylines going on, you're going to have some that you prefer to see than others.
Of course.
But overall, I think it's a good show. I think some of the ratings on IMDb are a bit harsh.
To be honest with you, like you just said then, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the books. I'm a massive fan of the films, the Hobbit trilogy, by the way. It's not just one film, there's 3 films.
Yes.
So there's a lot that's there that I really enjoy, and this is kind of obviously set and based on the works of Tolkien and Middle-earth without really following to the letter, and it's kind of made some changes and stuff. Now, I'm fine with that. I've always said this before, like, when you base something in a world or based on books, I don't want it to follow the set path or anything, because that's dull. For me, anyway. And I know some people would like to listen to the words said that were on the page verbatim. For me, that's never been my thing. So I'm happy with that, and I found season 1 just stunning. Like, I remember watching episode after episode, and I think I just said constantly, "Wow, that was visually just incredible."
I do think, the visuals of this show are absolute top tier.
Yeah. The every aspect of it,
it's amazing.
It is. Now I'm kind of, and that's not changed. Like the first 3 episodes here, that's not changed. So again, I'm in that kind of boat where I did enjoy season 1. It had me and you discussing who is Sauron, who, is Gandalf there, is that guy Gandalf, we had these kind of things to debate all the way up until the end, which was fun, which was enjoyable. What I would say is the big criticism I saw from people who were both casual and for people who are a bit more in depth into the books, etc., and the films is the pacing of the show. Now, the criticism for season 1 was that there just wasn't enough kind of action adventure to it. It was all very, very heavy dialogue, like the vast majority of the time. And when you did get like an episode or a couple of episodes where it was dominated by action, it was kind of, oh, brilliant, here we go, that's really engaging, followed by another episode of discussing the act. It just kind of felt like it was slow. Now, in this world, you got the opportunity due to the sheer amount of conflict that there is in this world, that you can have action-adventure storylines practically running alongside everything else constantly. But they've elected not to do that. Now, that's fine. Now, episode 1, for example, of season 2, I'm always... I think I've always said this on different shows as well. The first episode of a season, I fully expect to be slow-paced, because what you're going to do is they're going to reintroduce you to everybody and remind you of where they are. That's the whole goal of that episode, is like, right, okay, everyone, remember Steve? Steve is here now, all right, everyone? Okay, good, right, remember Dave? Yeah. and so I'm kind of okay with it. Like, that's what I expect from an episode 1 of a season, just to kind of get you back in front of everyone, so you're like, oh, yeah, there's so-and-so, I remember that. Oh, Steve and Dave, brilliant, And it's like, oh, I remember them now. Oh, what were they? Oh, yeah, they were doing that. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that was dangerous.
I remember what they were doing. Yeah.
So that's the kind of goal of episode 1. So I finished episode 1, and I was like, oh, okay. But it was like an hour and 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And like I was long. I mean, I was planning, because I said to you, I was planning to watch all 3 in a day. And I was like, well, it's 3 and a bit hours. Yeah, I'll watch one.
It's a movie. Yeah, it's a long movie.
I'll have some snacks. Watch the next one. But I finished the first one. I was like, I'm tired. Because I'm obviously watching it with a point of view of, I'm then going to talk about this. So it's kind of like, oh God, that was a lot. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to break this up. I'm going to watch something else, or like something lighthearted, and maybe I'll come back to it. I was like, actually, I've got time.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
I'm going to do one tomorrow.
Yes.
So I split it up, one a day. Now, when I watched episode 2, it lost me. Like, episode 2 was so slow-paced, was so in the same vein as 1, I struggled with that episode. Like, I really had to fight to the end. Like, I was like, oh, this is so heavy. And this isn't in a critical kind of, oh, this was crap or that was crap. There's no part of it I looked at and went, God, that was so not needed or anything. But the level of dialogue and the level of exposition was so huge. I honestly felt tired at the end of it. Like, I watched an episode of TV, I think I was led down, and I felt tired from it. Like, I was like, oh, wow, my brain hurts.
Yeah, I've seen a few things on Twitter and stuff, and a lot of people have kind of said the same kind of thing. Like, this isn't TV to sit and watch in the background. This is TV that you need to study. Like, you're almost taking an exam at the end of it. Like, you need to study.
No, that's fair. Yeah, and that's a good analogy for it. Now, in my mind, I'm kind of thinking to myself, well, you've released these 3 episodes, right? And we know episode 1's a kind of setup episode, and episode 2 is like really almost continued the setup, if that makes sense, because there were some characters that didn't even make it in episode 1, but they made it in episode 2. So again, I'm thinking, okay, the character list is so vast, the storylines are so big. We've basically done 2 episodes of just like, okay, this is where everyone is and this is where we're moving. So I'm like, okay, all right, 2 episodes. So I got to the third episode, and in my mind, I was thinking there needs to be a battle. There needs to be something in this episode, which is 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, shields, swords, orcs getting cut up, something.
Which, let the orcs have it.
Which I know kind of sounds a little bit, garish, but just in a, like, I need something, this action. I need something, this kind of, like, not exposition, not heavy dialogue, not political intrigue. Because I've had 2 episodes now, which is well over 2 hours of that. Like, episode 3 needs to break that a little bit. Because also, I need to feel a little bit going into, like, next week. Like, I want to feel motivated. Like, oh, damn, episode 4 is not available. Whereas I finished episode 3 and I was like, I am so happy I got to wait. Like, I couldn't have watched the next episode. I was done in.
Episode 3 kind of... We had this moment with Isildur. Isildur. Right, let's just get this out from the start, okay? My pronunciation is poor at the best of times.
Yeah.
When you give someone who's slightly dyslexic names like that, you got no chance. So let's just, from the start, I am going to butcher names, but I know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I'm hoping and I will try and step in where I can.
So say that one for me again, then.
Isildur.
He comes into it, and there's a bit of action with him at the start of episode 3.
Yeah.
And he goes, there's a bit of action. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it comes out of it, and it all goes back. And I'm like, okay, that was it. Okay.
Yeah, that was it. That was it for 3 episodes. That was 3. Now, imagine you watch Lord of the Rings movie, which is 3 and a bit hours. And there was basically one punch thrown in anger. One elf took out 5 or 6 guys. And that was it. Like that was the action from a 3-hour film. And this is kind of where I'm like, I know TV's different. I know that's different. But when you're putting together 3 hours and you're releasing it as one, like you said, it's basically a big movie. It's basically an epic movie. And that, and what, for me, like if I'm planning this, I'd be looking at it going, okay, I want to tell a beginning, middle, and an end across 3 episodes, but the end is kind of like setting up the rest of the season, so everybody finishes episode 3 like, oh, I can't wait for next week. Like you're just like, oh, this is so good, this is gonna be so epic, I can't wait. But you do actually follow a story, like even if it's just one of the main threads that you do, beginning, middle, and end, because you've got so many storylines woven in, there's no way you could do that for all of them. But even if there's just one, like you pick out Isildur, for example.
Yep.
You pick him out and go, right, Isildur, you're going to be the one who's fighting his way. You're going to be the action guy. We're picking on you. You're doing your own stunts. Poor actor's going to get battered and bruised. But for 3 episodes, you're the guy that when we cut to your storyline, everyone's going to be like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Right, he's still running. He's still like, fighting his way across here. And it sounds silly, but it gives your brain a minute to switch off, which probably sounds daft. Like, you can watch an action scene and love it and just be like, oh, that was great. You're not having to focus on it that much, if that makes it. Like, some of the dialogue, you're like you said, it's like you're studying for an exam. But you get the fight scene, you're like, oh, that was fun, that was good. But you're not having to, like, zone in and be, like, so focused on it. So I think it needed that. I think it needed more of that. And in episode 3 especially, I felt like after the first 2 being so slow, so much exposition, so much dialogue, like you had to give us something and they didn't. So overall, like I'm not digging the show out, saying anything bad or pointing at things going, that was awful, oh, that dialogue there doesn't belong in episode 3, like whatever. I'm not doing any of that. It's just, to me, it just felt very, very slow. And if you're dropping 3 episodes in once, which is the way Amazon like to do things, so this is planned, like they know that's what's going to happen. Surely you script and you film it, so you kind of tell a story in those 3 episodes to kick off everything and engage, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Draw you back in, yeah. Like we used to joke before Amazon kind of made it their thing.
Yeah.
We used to joke on the podcast that if they dropped more than 2 episodes at a time, it was kind of them going, oh, please like it.
Yeah,
watch them all.
Yeah, true.
Watch them all. You need to watch them all because otherwise you're not going to like it. And Amazon have kind of made it their thing to do that. So kind of got away from that kind of jokey side of it.
It is, but it is still funny that on Fallout they dropped every episode.
Yeah, they dropped the whole lot on that one, and that was like, are they worried or not? Well, with this one, I think it's a case of if they had just dropped episode 1 on its own, with how, like you say, how heavy and everything episode 1 was, you can imagine that week leading up to the next episode, you wouldn't have really had kind of any big excitement for episode 2 in the sense of it doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but I don't feel that there is after episode 3 either. This
no, that's what I was going to get onto. It's like, then, so wait a minute, that's not...
Well,
they've not followed that as such.
I mean, I can tell you what the Amazon thinking is, which is funny. Just to circle Fallout a second. So, the rumor on Fallout is that when it was done and completely done, someone made the decision at Amazon that they didn't think it was going to do very well. They looked at it and were like, no, this is too off the wall, this is too goofy, people aren't going to like it. So they dropped it all in one on the basis that they thought, oh, maybe it'll do something or whatever, let's just write it off. We're kind of done. And it was a smash hit, like people loved it. And so whoever made that decision probably isn't the most popular boy in the world now, or has managed to go, yeah, see, dropping it all at once, look what I did.
Look what I did.
Which is probably how I'd spin it.
But 100%.
So that's the rumour on that. Now, the reason why people sort of raised an eyebrow to it is because Amazon, when they first started, followed Netflix. So when they first started doing their own TV shows, they dropped them all as well. They were like, here's our new TV show, here's every episode, enjoy. But what Amazon realised is like with Netflix, and when they did that, it's the whole thing, the water cooler discussion. So basically, if you drop every single episode, you've got maybe 2 weeks of people talking about it, social media, and then it's gone. It's vanished because the next show drops on Netflix or something, and people move on and they binge watch it. So they decided that they were going to be different, and they were going to drop first few episodes, 2 to 3, depending on how many episodes in the season, and then people would watch them, and then they drop it weekly. And the idea being, if people got engaged in those first few episodes, they would then tune in each week, and the discussion and the social media would then go on for 6 to 8 weeks or 10 weeks rather than thing. And the first show they did that with was The Boys, and it worked so well for them.
Yep. It's a good show
well
to start with, let's be honest.
Well, I mean, it was kind of like, okay, let's see what happened. They did it with a TV show that I loved called The Expanse, and it was very, very popular. And there's loads of shows they then did it with, and it worked brilliantly for them. It worked so well that I know for a fact that, well, because it's in the press, Netflix did really consider changing their own model, but then people kicked off like, no, you're Netflix, do your Netflix thing. So
drop them all at once.
Yeah, so they've stayed doing what they're doing. So it is, I say they've done that. On a few shows now, they've been kind of sneaky, Netflix, by breaking up seasons. So one of their biggest shows is Stranger Things. And the last season, they released all the episodes, but then they said, oh, but we got these other episodes that still need a bit more work, but we don't want you to have to wait for them. So we're going to drop these first 5, and then in a month, you can have the last 2. And that basically meant that for 6 weeks, Stranger Things dominated discussion, because people binged them so fast, and then were like, God, what's the end? We need the end. Where are the rest? And it just dominated the conversation. There's no way they didn't look at that and go, ooh, we could do that again. Another one of their big shows is a show called Cobra Kai, and they've just basically done the same thing. They announced the last season, but they're breaking the last season up into batches. So you've got 5 episodes of it already, another 5 are coming in later in the year, and then another 5 at the start of next year. So they've been able to spread the discussion of Cobra Kai out over about 6 months.
Yeah, it's cleverly done, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, they know what they're doing.
They do. But look, we're going to dive into these episodes now. I've got sort of very broad bullet points to walk us through each episode. So I'm going to start with episode 1, where you got completely confused by a flashback.
Whereas, epically. Yeah.
Now, were you, and please hold your hands up and be honest, were you sort of half doing something, half watching? Because, like, I watched it and I'm like, I don't know how he's lost.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I watched it on the office PC, but I had stopped. It was my lunch break. I was watching it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just got a bit, it just tired me up a little bit. And I was like, I don't quite understand what the hell's going on here. Like, I've seen all this before. Why am I seeing it? Oh, no, it is different. Is it different? Yeah, I got a bit confused on it.
So what was kind of funny to me was I remembered that one of the main characters, the actors changed. Right? So I remembered that, but I couldn't remember which character. So when this started and an actor called Jack Lowden was playing Sauron, but in the past, I was like, oh, bloody hell, it was Sauron. Oh, I was sure it was someone else. But then there's a guy there playing Adar. But because this is in the past, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if that's like supposed to be a younger Adar, you know. must be that someone there's playing a younger version of him. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm confused. Was it 2 actors that have changed? No. So basically, this is kind of like this age of Sauron. That was the visual look of him at that time. Now, we remember in Season 1, Adar said, I killed Sauron. And now we know why he thought he did. Because let's face it, they did a number on him. They stabbed him in the back with the crown. They stabbed him repeatedly. I mean, yeah, Sauron clearly wasn't the leader they all wanted.
No, I think he lost them with the orcs will die. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I think that's one where he lost them.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yes.
Lord Farquaad. Oh, ahead of his time.
I like that. Yep.
Now, they did take him out. Now, we got to see this kind of, okay, so Sauron becomes the black goo. He has to consume creatures to get his strength back. Yep. Gradually getting the bigger creatures until eventually he hops on a wagon and takes out a human and is able to take a human form again. And when he does that, that's when the Sauron we recognise as Hellbrand is kind of born, if you like.
Yep.
We recognise that.
I'm still on board at the moment. I'm still with you.
Now, we then see good old Hellbrand go and meet up with a group of people who are running away from orcs. And he's kind of like marching towards them at this point, like pissy, like, I'll have those orc bastards, I'm going to cut all their hearts out sort of thing. And this guy's like, no, don't do that. Don't, like, talks to him and he's sort of looking at him a bit. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, are we seeing a kind of a Sauron not sure what to do? Like, I've been evil this time, maybe I'll, you know, I mean, it was just this kind of what's going through his head that he went with them rather than going off on his mission. Like, what was he thinking?
Yep.
The boat gets attacked by a big sea creature, which then runs away from Sauron, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yes.
Which goes to show how powerful a being he is.
Yeah, the big thing comes out his mouth open like, we're going to eat you, we're going to eat you. Oh, you know.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave. He sort of gets in his head.
Yeah.
We see this old guy is carrying this pouch with the sigil for the kings of the Southlands that have long since died.
Yes.
And the guy's trapped under a beam. He says, help me. And Hellbrand just takes it and walks off. And you're like, okay, Sauron's an evil prick. Oh, yeah.
Still bad guy. Yep.
Just to establish. And then he's floating on the water with the survivors, and we see Galadriel come up. And so that connects it back to where we were in Season 1.
That's the bit that confused me, because I swear in Season 1, he's on his own on that bit of wood. There's no one else there.
No.
And on this, there's a load of people there. And I was like, I think that's where I started getting confused. I was like, wait a minute. I swear he was on his own.
No, initially there was a load, and then they sacrificed kind of other, like they wanted to go off. They didn't want Galadriel there. They were all kind of a bit shitty, and he stuck with her, and the two of them floated off together.
That's probably where my confusion came from then, because I was like, we've seen this before, but it's different. Like that's where I was starting to get a bit.
No, not different, dear boy, not different. In fact, it was the same scene. So, it all kind of, so that kind of told us that I am not sure, genuinely not sure that was needed. Like I know I said this a minute ago, like I'm not picking stuff out, but we knew all of that. We knew that Adar... Now, I guess this shows us why Adar thought Sauron was dead. Like, yeah. I killed him, and everyone's like, well, you clearly didn't. And now we know why. And I guess it kind of sets up how vicious that was, that we now know why Sauron's looking at him and kind of like, oh, I'm going to have some revenge on you, you bastard.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of like... It's given us the build-up as to why there's the problem between them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then, like you say, we already kind of knew about it. So it was kind of like just driving home the point, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, Sauron was banished by Galadriel once she found out who he was. And then he was sort of heading off to Mordor, the newly formed Mordor, and got captured. Because he's in this human form, like a Southlander, he's taken in front of Adar and he starts to manipulate. And this is probably one of the things I did enjoy in these 3 episodes, which is one of the big questions for Lord of the Rings for me. Like, it's always been, how did the Dark Lord Sauron, that everyone knew was an evil piece of whatever, manage to manipulate everyone in Middle Earth to carry these rings? Like, how did that? How did he manage to do that? Like, what level of manipulation existed that he managed to do? And we're seeing it, and I'm enjoying it. Like, because the elven tree was dying. Now, why that was dying, I don't think has anything to do with Sauron, but I think he jumped on the opportunity. So those 3 rings that went to the elves to save their tree, and it works.
Yep.
Why would they, because, you see that Elrond is very much, we now know Sauron was involved in this, stayed away from those rings, and he falls out with Galadriel hard in this, and the High King.
Yeah.
And, he basically commits treason to try and keep the rings from the elves in this episode. But he doesn't succeed. They get them, mostly because that guy, basically screws him over.
I'll get rid of them for you. Then he sees them and he's like, no, I'll take them back, actually.
Yeah, he puts one on and he's like, oh, I feel good. Oh, yeah.
The power of the rings,
Yeah, this is it. So, what was interesting to me is, like, Elrond's very much like, oh, this is bad. But if you think about it from just a narrow perspective of the rings worked. So that was what they were supposed to do. Perfect. And now the wearers of them, Galadriel included, are feeling a certain power from it, are feeling like their senses are heightened. They're feeling it. And so it's that addiction of the rings again, this kind of like, okay, all right, so I can see what he's done there. Because they wouldn't believe that they're evil at this point, or there's any evil intent to it, because it's just saved the elves. Why would Sauron want that? It's the elves who drove the orc kind, like, basically almost to extinction. So there's no way he'd want the elves. Like, if that tree dies, the elves are leaving. So Middle Earth would be his. So, like, so it all kind of logically, you're like, oh, great, lucky, Sauron clearly had nothing to do with this. This was all Celebrimbor. Brilliant.
Yeah, there's a big thing. They make a big thing about the fact that, no, he did not touch the rings. He can't have done anything. He didn't touch them.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, okay, right, yeah.
So we then, so in this episode, again, episode 1, Sauron manipulation, he basically gets Adar to believe that, and this is so good, he's like, I'm the king of the Southlands, please let my people go. If you let my people go, I'm going to lead you to Galadriel's new ally against you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, she's allied with some dark sorcerer. I don't know what he is, but he said this. And he basically quotes himself, Sauron, back to Adar, who then, like, you could see he has to change his trousers. Like, where did you hear that?
Yeah, like, wait a minute.
Like, this guy, I think his name's like Sauron or something like that, and he's like, no. So, and you can see a few orcs look at him like, oh, what? Like, we stabbed that guy a lot.
Yeah, that guy definitely got killed. Yeah,
like, he's dead. Like, we're all looking at each other. I mean, he's dead, right? I mean, definitely dead. I mean, the body vanished, but that's dead, right?
Yeah.
So they're all kind of in that freaked out kind of place, but he uses it to manipulate him, and I'm like, is he just trying to get close enough to him that he's going to snap his neck, sit down on the throne, and be like, right, you orc bastards, now I'm in charge.
Yeah, remember last time? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of...
Yeah, I was wondering what.
So I'm watching that, but then it's like, he gets released, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm a little bit lost. Like, what's your goal here? What are you trying to do? Obviously, he then goes straight back to Celebrimbor, and I'm like, oh, that's what you're doing. Okay, all right. You are basically getting yourself released from here. You've got your plan. You know where Adar is. You know what you want to do. That guy who was beating him whilst he was chained up, he basically got the creature to kill him as well, which I enjoyed.
I love that. I'll kill you when I get out of it. And then he comes back mocking him, like, I'll kill you when I get out. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And he's dead. I really enjoyed that.
And the bit that made me chuckle was like, he's riding away on the horse. And obviously, with his senses, his powers, he knows. Yeah. Just stops, smiles, and carries on.
No, I did enjoy that as well. Also in episode 1, we caught up with the Stranger. Interestingly, they've not named him Gandalf now. He's still the Stranger in everything.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
So I mean, that's fine by me, and I just wonder if that's because Ian McKellen's made it clear, like, no, I'm Gandalf. No. I'm Gandalf.
Yeah.
If some MFers playing, no, he's playing the Stranger. He is not playing Gandalf, and that's fine.
I will appear at the end of season 5. I am Gandalf.
Yeah. Once this is all done, whoever this guy is, the imposter, can be the Stranger right up to the point he remembers his name, and then it's me. All right.
I'm back.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. If that's what they're gonna do. So the Stranger, he's doing his kung fu walk the earth thing, trying to piece things together. Nori is with him. I keep saying halflings, but they're called half-foots in this. So,
half-foots.
Yeah. Yes. So Nori is there. Poppy stalks them and is also with them, and they're basically.
Right. It wasn't hard to find you. Basically, you've been going around in circles for the last
which did make
weeks.
Me chuckle. Yeah. So they're good
You've
job.
Been following us. It wasn't difficult.
Yeah. Oh. It's a good job that Poppy does find them, because once she does, she's like, "Yeah, I brought a map, idiots." And like sorts them out, gets them going in the right direction. Do you
remember that song that we've been singing our entire lives?
Yeah.
Duh,
well, it would appear that there was actual relevance to that song. It wasn't just like hi ho. So they've been wandering around lost for ages. She finds them. They're finally off on their direction. Moving into episode 2, we catch up with the dwarves. Father and
These
son.
Are my favourites. Just throwing it out there, dwarves are my favourites.
Fair. It's the beards. Father and son, king and the prince are still not talking, and it's causing a lot of tension amongst the dwarves. It's also causing a lot of problems for Durin the prince, because he doesn't have money. He's having to work in the mines. He's basically getting punched and kicked around because it's like,
he's getting. Oh, have you got blisters on your hand?
Yeah.
Poor prince.
He's getting crap over that all the time. There is a shudder, an earthquake, and the whole mountain, the air, the light, everything gets blocked out. And yes, they have their door in and out that they can get things, but they're no longer able to grow things in the mountain. And people are scared. And they have the stone singers, where we saw it in season 1, where they have this skill and they sing to the mountain, and the echoes, etc., helps them dictate where to dig and things like that. It's like a dwarven tradition. And these stone singers are trying, and it's like the mountain's not talking to them anymore, is what they say. So
that's it.
The dwarves are basically terrified by this. This is like really quite a scary thing. And this again, for me, leads quite lovely into this manipulation, because the elves' tree was dying. Again, I don't think Sauron had anything to do with that, but I don't know. Like, at some point we might learn that he did, and then that's even like on another level. But right now, it feels like he took advantage of it. And now
I think that's what he's doing. He's literally watching these things happen just as natural occurrences, and every time they happen, he's going, "Me."
And this, because there's a dwarf that says, like, oh, there's a fire mountain, there's like a volcano. It erupted, and the tremors and everything is what has caused this. So it's like the dwarfs are like, oh, this has happened before, but obviously not that bad. But this is, we're not sure what to do. The king's not sure what to do. He doesn't have his son by his side. We have this great scene. For me, it's a great scene because I've got a father who would never admit he was wrong, no matter what. So my entire life, an apology from my father is, right, you over that, and that means he was wrong. Okay, that's an apology I get from my father. Are you still on about that? You know, that's it. That's about as good as I ever got in my life. So when I see the father speaking to Durin's wife, the stone singer, like, don't make me ask you how he is, sort of thing. Like, how are you? It's like, oh yeah, well, and how are they? He's like, the grandkids, they're good. I'm like, oh, you're being so cruel, because you know what he wants to ask. He's like, don't make me ask. And he's like, well, why didn't you summon your son? He's like, why should I apologize? I'm like, oh my god, this feels so relevant to my life. So I enjoyed that. I did enjoy that. Now, like we said about Sauron at the end of episode 1, he does go to see Celebrimbor, and he ends up manipulating him. He's got in there, he's managed to get into his head, and he basically takes the form. I'm not entirely sure who he says he is. Like, I know he says it.
He gives himself a name, and then Celebrimbor's like, of gifts or something, like the Lord of Gifts or something like that.
So it's obviously an elven thing. And apologies everyone. I know I should have noted this down, but there was so much going on. This is just something I missed. I mean, I'm aware he did it, and so again, the manipulation, like this, Celebrimbor's the guy making these rings. He's the one with the skill. He's the one with, like, what he's doing, but Sauron is just like a puppet master now. He's, like, above him, pulling the strings, like, oh, you do this. And he's managing to get in his ear in a way where it's like, look, I've had to pretend to do this, and Galadriel didn't like it, and I've had to do this, and I've had to do this. And so Celebrimbor's just completely, oh, yeah, well, what we're doing's right then. Because the tree got saved. And now the dwarfs' mountain's in trouble, so we'll make these rings for the dwarfs, and then that'll save the mountain. Oh, this is perfect. And, like, I'm watching this, I'm like, of course. Like, the elves see the tree heal, the rings are perfect. The dwarves are going to see their mountain heal. Great, the rings are perfect. You know, the next up's men then. But it's just kind of...
There's no reason to doubt it, because it's fixing everything.
It's doing good things. And it's the same for, like, Celebrimbor's like... Why would he think that Sauron's manipulating him for evil when he's appearing as this, like, good thing and all the rings are doing good? So why would you think any different? And he doesn't. But yeah, so he's been completely taken in. Galadriel and Elrond in episode 2 are still clashing really bad about this. However, they do eventually get sent off to hunt down Sauron. But with Elrond in charge, and Galadriel's face is brilliant. Like,
a face that says 1,000 words.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay, I see. And it's the High King's delivery of it. Like, no, you don't understand.
You've been mistaken.
Yeah. Elrond is the one leading this mission.
My only thing with Galadriel is the fact that she constantly looks like she's about to cry.
She's a very very
emotional character. Yeah.
Well, it's I think the thing with Galadriel's this warrior, and I love that because the depiction in the Lord of the Rings films is she doesn't really get involved. She kind of like takes them in at one point and sends them on their way, but doesn't really fight, doesn't get involved at all. And I think over these 5 series, if we get to 5, or I think over these series, whatever we get, I think we're going to get a real solid reason as to why she's in the woods staying out of everything. Does that make sense? I think we're going to get
I feel like she's going to do enough that she's then like, I have done enough. I need to just
I'm done.
Live out my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
kind of... like, in this, it's just her face. Yeah, she always looks like she's she's like one bad word away from tears.
But I think the way the lady who's playing her is doing this is that kind of, she is so passionate, I think is the right word, about stopping, like, because of her brother and everything, stopping Sauron, and she has been so taken in by him. She is now literally on like a rage almost, and I don't think elves really are supposed to have that. So I feel like she's constantly, you know, like you say, like she looks like she's on the verge of, like she's on the verge of like an emotional outburst. I think is the right.
Yeah.
She looks like she's kind of, and I think that's really good. Like I genuinely think that's well acted and well kind of directed, because I think you can pick up on it in almost every scene. She's like right there, and at some point. That's gonna go. Yeah, at some point that's gonna go. Snap at some point. And I like that. I like to just like characters, and I think Elrond perhaps might be the person to kind of push her a little bit. I think he might recognize it and be like, okay, I'm gonna needle you a bit because you need to let something out. Like you need to. Yeah. Because right now you're like a little rage monster ready to explode, and you're getting things wrong. So I'm finding the Elrond and Galadriel story I'm finding fascinating because they were so close, such good friends.
And he just feels utterly betrayed.
He does, yeah. And I kind of feel like he's right. Like, well, we know he's right. So
yeah.
But in all the evidence and everything we've seen, you've got like he's just like, why is no one listening to me? And well, Elrond, you're going to get proven right, mate, but in the worst way.
Gotcha.
We find out that the stranger is being stalked by some dark wizard. We saw him get confronted by acolytes of that wizard in season 1, and he finds his powers and takes him out and does a good job with that. Now, we see these humans that have been kind of cursed by this dark wizard say, if we bring him before you, if we do this, will you lift like this curse on our skin, our faces? And he's like, yeah, okay, all right, go and get it. And so they hunt him down. He has demonstrated a few times that, yes, he's able to harness his power, but he doesn't seem to have control over it. So he's very nervous of it. Like, he tries to get a dead tree to bear fruit, and it just ends up loads of bugs. Which
he seems really happy about, and I'm not so sure.
Good old Nori
is promised apples and got cockroaches. I know which one I'd be happy on.
I think good old Nori is just trying to make the best of that. I think she's polishing a turd there to try and be nice to her friend.
You promised me food, and we got food.
So don't worry. Yeah, so she's trying to be encouraging now because they're being attacked. He does harness his power. He basically creates like a tornado, in essence, a funnel. But unfortunately, the two half-foots get sucked away with it as well.
He seems to like lose control of it completely.
Yeah, completely. So no idea what's happening there. Really, like, are they gone? I mean, I'm guessing they're not.
Well, yeah, they just kind of got sucked up into the abyss, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, like what's going to happen now? So,
we're going to find them in a couple of episodes' time, just dangling out of a tree. Like, well, this is fun.
Yeah. You'll be caught by it. As long as the tree doesn't start talking to you, you're all right. Now,
where have you come from, child? Oh, crap.
We head into episode 3, where the Numenor, and they are Numenorans, the people, but I can't say that. I sound like Mene when I try and say that, so I'm just going to go the people from Numenor. Are leaving Middle-earth. They're heading back. The Queen, as we know, is blinded, etc., etc. But this horse doesn't want to go. It's Isildur's horse. He's like, no, I know Isildur's alive. And the Isildur's father's like, come on, please come with me. And they're like, he won't calm down for anyone. Just let him go. Just he wants to run wild. He does run wild. He runs off, but he goes to find Isildur, something that no one else has been able to do. He runs into a party of orcs, and the horse manages to win that fight, by the way. This is a badass horse at this point.
This horse kicks ass.
I'm like, at this point, I'm now backing... This horse has had more fight action in this 3 episodes than any other character. I'm team horse right now, right?
Yeah.
So the horse then does find Isildur. He finds Isildur basically wrapped up in a web. Now, I'm going to tell everyone now something I don't know if I've said on the podcast. Stefan will know. I genuinely genuinely have arachnophobia. It's mild, but I do genuinely have it. A big enough spider appears near me, I will have heart palpitations, I'll just start sweating instantly. It genuinely is terrible. Like, people used to think this was funny. Like, they'd send me pictures of spiders and stuff. It's not funny. Genuinely terrifies me, and I'll then just be a mess for ages. It's like, it messes me up. The reason
I have been guilty of this before.
The reason behind this is my older brother had a pet tarantula when I was a young kid. Spiders never bothered me before that. Spiders didn't bother me then. I had the thing on my hand loads of times. It was a big fluffy spider. It didn't bother me. However, it escaped once, and I woke up with it right on my face. And as I screamed, the thing ran, bit, and just went. And I have spiders running, scurrying ever since. Literally leaves me a mess, right? So I'm going to say this right now. So I'm going to say, why does it always have to be spiders?
There
are
like the old
so many.
Why always snakes? Why always spiders?
There are so many creatures. There are so many beasts. This is fantasy, right?
It could have been anything.
Why? So I'm not going to lie. I skipped all of this. I literally, like, I knew what was coming. I just kept it in skip until he was out of there on the horse. So does anything happen in there with the spiders that are relevant beyond terrifying? For me.
He steals an orc's sword, and the orc is actually still alive.
Yeah.
Apart from that, no, not really. They get out together.
Thank you. Fine. Okay, right, brilliant. So that's it. I mean, I literally wrote down, horse finds a seal door, spiders, why, for fuck's sake, nightmares. That's my note, right?
Yep,
no,
fair enough. Yep.
We see a seal door. He learns his people have left, and he learns that by bumping into a lady called Estrid. Estrid's sort of on her own, and then the pair of them head towards where what was a settlement for the Numenor, like a historic settlement. So he's like, okay, if we've left, then this is where we'd still be, and this is where I hope to get there. And they come across an old man, clearly beat down, looks like he could be very unwell.
I mean, she's already stabbed him in the leg at this point, which I thought was a great kind of introduction.
Oh yes, apologies.
Stabbed him in the leg. Oh, I'm so sorry.
She did. She did knife him in the leg initially. She's like, "Sorry, I thought you were an orc," which I thought was like harsh.
Do you know what? One of the things, so I get a geeky sort of thing here. She pulls the knife out, and he has a go at her, like, "No, leave the blade in."
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you, because that always annoys me in every film or show I watch. You get stabbed and they just rip the blade out, and you're like, don't do that.
Well,
so I was very happy.
The thing that also made me laugh about that is she's like, "Oh, have you been stabbed before?" He's like, "No, but I'm pretty sure you're meant to leave it in." So he doesn't know. He's guessing. But anyway, so Isildur is going to feed this guy. Isildur's a good person, but anyway, this guy, as Isildur gets close, he realizes he's got the mark of Adar on him. He's been branded. And this guy pulls a knife, other guys jump out, it's an ambush. Isildur's outmatched, he's sort of on his own. They're stealing his horse, and then out of nowhere, a freaking ninja arrives.
Yes.
Also known as someone I can't pronounce. Arondir.
Yep.
Arondir. This is the action for 3 episodes. This is it.
I had almost forgotten about this bloke.
He completely takes him out. He does brilliantly. It's incredible. He is basically a special forces soldier dropped into this area, and he's phenomenal. And he takes him out. Yeah. The horse is stolen though. Now this is a good horse, so we need to get that horse back. And Isildur is convinced to go and get that horse back. And he enlists someone from season 1 who did my head in, and that's Theo.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, and it wasn't really in the recap. I didn't realise she died, or I didn't remember she died.
No, I didn't.
Have they killed her between the seasons?
I think so.
Okay, so that actor didn't want to come back.
Let us know. Please let us know if we are wrong. Yeah. I don't remember her dying.
No, me neither. Like, I'm so sort of to the point. I'm going to have to go back and like watch the last episode of this, because I thought I remember her being wounded and him taking her to the camp to be healed, and I thought she was okay.
He makes a comment about orc poison human flesh, like eats a human flesh or something.
He basically says it's not, for humans, it's not easy to So I think she's died off. I think the actor didn't want to come back.
She's like, which is a shame, because I thought she was a really good character.
Yeah, she was brilliant. Now, he loved her, right? Now, he loved her. And her son, he obviously feels an affinity of, I need to do right. The son's
which I hope he doesn't feel that. I hope he doesn't feel that for too long.
Well, see, now, what's interesting to me is I'm kind of with you on that. Up until the scene where we see a seal door open up to Estrid about his own experience of he feels his fault his mum died. Nobody knows that I was out in the water and she came to get me, and then she drowned. Everyone just thinks she drowned. No one realises that it's my fault. And he talks about that, and he talks about it a lot. And you see Theo in the background just break down. Because, of course, it was his fault. What he did, his actions were the reason his mum and all the people from the Southlands ended up getting attacked. He did get lured in with that sword, with the fragment of the sword, which then...
That's it, yep.
So he broke that. So I was kind of like, okay, all right, let's see where this character goes then, because Theo then does agree to help the seal door. He does take him off there to help him to get his horse back. He does get his horse, and then Theo kind of gets trapped. He shouts to a seal door for help, but something has attacked the camp. And I'm not sure what or who, but then we see Theo kind of like get sucked up in it as well. So I got no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, no, that was a bit of a... Because he's running and running and running, and then he stops.
Looks up.
Now, I can only imagine it's the big troll thing.
I did wonder, but
that's the only thing I can think of.
But then surely he'd be dead, because that big troll would just stomp him.
Well, that's... Yeah.
And also, if it's a big troll, that's not stealth. We're not going to see people just start dropping and being dragged off places like you'd see that big troll.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, he ain't hiding in the trees.
Yeah, I'm not sure there, so we'll see where that goes. But in this episode, of course, back on Numenor, we have serious politicking going on. The Queen Regent, her father has died. We knew that from the end of last season. She is blinded by what's happened in Middle-earth, and her people are pissed. So many of them died going there. They blame her for that. One citizen slaps her in the face, which I'm like, oh, wow, okay. But rather than reacting in anger, she hugs her and they break down in tears. I'm like, okay, that's next level queening right there.
And it just, that's next level. That's like, I can have you beheaded, but I won't.
But the sort of conspirators, if you like, those against her, Isildur's sister, probably because Isildur's dead, completely turns against her. She goes and steals the elven sort of seeing stone. You got to remember, the people on this island have got a real issue with elves. They don't like them.
Oh, yes.
They've like for years have been this kind of like anti-elf feeling about them. And so once they learn that she's been using this elven thing, people are turning against her. And basically it would appear that her uncle, I think, Pharazan?
Yes, Pharazan.
He would appear to now be seizing power from her. So
now, we saw him in season 1, and I think we both said in season 1, he seems like a shady bastard.
He is. He's a political animal. He is politicking, and it would appear that he's...
advantage of the... So she speaks about the fact that the eagle lands, and that's what kind of made her dad have all the power. Now, the eagle has come down and landed again, and he has very cleverly kind of
positioned himself,
to it before she can. Therefore, everyone's like, "Oh, the eagle chooses him."
Yeah,
there we go. We have a king.
So they're all chanting his name, and that's kind of like, oh man, that's brutal. Back to the dwarves. Then they're finished. Durin goes to see Celebrimbor, and Sauron's there manipulating things. Now Durin's onto him. Durin's like, "Oh, where's Elrond?" He's like, "Oh, Elrond always talks so nicely about you." And Durin's like, "Nah, bullshit."
He has never said a good word about me.
No, and it's like, it's because of their friendship, because they know each other so well that all they do is bust on each other. Like, that's Like, there's no way that he'd be like, oh, he's the greatest person ever. He'd be like, oh, what him? Crap beard. So that way, like, he'd be like, well, you tell that pointy-eared bastard, you know. He knows that's their relationship because they are that close. They are like brothers. Yes. So he is straight away like, he's straight away like, he doesn't even know her. I don't know who that is. But his wife, again, is kind of like, this will help them. Like, you got to take this to your father. You have to. You have to take this to him because it could save us. Like, you got to swallow your pride, shut up and do it. And she's right. Like, we know they're being manipulated, but she is right. In that instance, the dwarf, that mountain, their civilization is dead soon. So we do get father and son reunited. They do talk, and in fairness to Prince Durrant, he does say, like, I don't feel comfortable about this. Like, there's something about it. So that's him and Elrond so far who have both been, not sure. But the king clearly...
There's something not quite right here. Yeah.
But the king does go ahead with it, and we do get to see the Mithril handed over and the rings start to be forged at the end, and Sauron with a little look.
He touches the rings as well. He has something in his hand that he then throws in, and you're like, that's it. He touched them this time. Yeah,
well, he is involved. Well, he was involved last time, of course, but Celebrimbor didn't want people. So it is all taking shape. The master manipulation is there. Now, like I said before we started talking about it in more detail, it's heavy. There is a lot.
Yeah.
And we've kind of just waltzed through those 3 episodes, but it is a lot. But the key thing for me is, like, all these little things are going on, but the manipulation, the way he's taking events and turning them to his advantage. If it's then found that he's causing those events, I'm not sure if that's as good or worse or better. I'm not sure. I quite like you said. I like seeing things.
Advantage. Yeah.
And he's just taking advantage of it and using it. And yeah, I mean, like, he's got Adar knowing that Sauron's back, so he's now paranoid, freaked out, not knowing what to do. You've then got him basically manipulating Celebrimbor to make the rings for the dwarves. We know that the humans are next, so what's going
to happen to them?
Exactly, what's going to befell them that they think, or is he just going to manipulate the humans along the lines of, look, the elves and the dwarves have got these rings of power, guys, you know. Don't you think you should have some rings of power? You know, because
you should probably have more than they have.
Yeah. You can kind of see now, and we also then know at some point you'll then forge the One Ring, and that for me is like, that's like the next step. Like, he's doing all this to help everyone. How is he going to manipulate it to then get that one done at the end? Is that a case of, at that point he knows how to do it? He's learned and he kills Celebrimbor and does it himself?
Yeah, see, I'm sure we said at the end of the first season, but I was a bit disappointed at the fact that we knew they had multiple seasons lined up.
Yeah.
And at the end of season 1, they full on went, this is Sauron, here he is.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've kind of taken away the who is he? And I was like, that's disappointing. Well, I thought that would be a fun thing to go over a few seasons of us getting more suspicious of different characters that's a bit shady. But the way they've done this season with now watching him and the manipulation and everything else, I'm like, okay, you've kind of saved what I thought was going to be the major kind of face palm of, well, that's ridiculous because we all know it's him now. So, you know, where's the fit?
Yeah,
they've
taken
that and flipped it onto the manipulation, which I think is quite good.
Yeah, I like it. I like because we know who he is, we know what his goals are, and it's kind of like we're now watching him. In a way, like Star Wars fans, when you watch the prequels and you know what the Emperor is, you know what he's doing, and you're watching him manipulate, move people around a board like a chess game. And you're like, oh, wow, you evil bastard. Very much so. And you're now getting to watch Sauron do it now, and you're like, oh, how
Make better choices, Sauron. Make
better choices, please. Anakin, no!
That's it.
So that is our show. That is the episodes 1, 2, and 3. Is there anything else in those episodes you want to circle come back to?
there's probably so much that we've missed, but no, I think.
Well, like I said, this was a walkthrough. There's too much to.
There was just so much happening.
Yeah, I mean, a podcast to be like 10 hours long. So that is episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 2. It is dropping weekly now, so we will do a weekly show on each episode as they drop. I think these come out. I think it's a Thursday or a Friday.
Yes. So it says here Thursday the 5th is the next one. Okay,
so our show will be the Tuesday. So you got the weekend to watch it, digest it, and then join us on a Tuesday to have a listen to us talk about it. That is it. That is our show for now. We've got other shows coming up. Keep an eye on our social medias as we announce them. Until then, everybody, you all take care.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.